Once again, good evening, dear guests of our today's meeting. Today we have both partners and investors into the string transportation technology, as well as people who might be here for the first time and will hear about this innovation for the first time. And this innovation in the area of transportation and the opportunity to invest in these huge sector-forming projects, like the project that we're going to talk about today, the string transportation technology. We will discuss how this innovation was implemented in quite a short period, which is 10.5 years. Before we start today's meeting, before we start discussing today's topic, I would like to see what kind of a geography we have today, what cities and countries we have people from today. Today is Tuesday, the 27th of August. It's 6:15 p.m. Central European Time, and thank you 6:15 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you very much for your time, and I would like to see what regions and countries we have partners from today, guests from today. You have the opportunity to use the chat. Please, in the chat, write the city and the country, and whether you are already an investor in the string transportation technology. So if you are an investor, you tell me give me the city, country, and yes, I'm an investor. If not, then the city, the country, and no, I'm not an investor. Then I see partners from India, from Russia. Again, India. Bokaro, Steel City, Jharkhand, India. I see a lot of partners from India. We have partners from Russia. I see Yuri, Alexander, Suraj has wrote, Mr. Suraj Hinji wrote Alipur, Maharashtra. So we have a lot of partners from our subcontinent, India, which is not surprising because it is now the biggest country in terms of the population in the world. I also see partners from the United States. If I understand correctly, Saeed Hanaman is from the United States. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, we should have a meeting and have a talk. Please, after this meeting, write to me, okay, Mr. Saeed? Then we have Satish Kakade from Solapur, Maharashtra. I surmise it is India as well. Well, I see a lot of partners from that subcontinent, this region, which is good, which is very good news. And I wanted to tell you that very soon, but I shouldn't jump the gun, but I would like to tell you that our platform is going to develop very actively in that region. And we're going to talk about the prospects of the development of our activities, our platform in the future. Let's start the meeting. We have quite an extensive geography. You could have seen at least 3 continents here, because I know we have partners from South Africa present in this meeting. Therefore, we have quite a large geography, lots of countries and regions. For starters, let me introduce myself. My name is Maxim Isyp. I am the investor in the string transportation technology since 2014. And since 2020, I've been the CEO of the investment crowdfunding platform, RSW Systems. And I've been doing this business for 11 years, the business of crowdfunding, which is quite a huge span of life. And I think in that particular area, I was able to realize myself. I gained quite a lot of experience in communicating with people, large investors, big players, small investors, crowdfunding investors, state authorities, institutions, and have a lot of experience in working with this technology at different levels. And I'm very happy that I am able to provide assistance in this project that we're going to talk about today. And let's start our today's meeting with the question, how this particular technology was able to be implemented, brought into life, or managed to be born in this world. This is quite a unique story, and I'm not afraid to use this word. In the entire world over the last couple of centuries, this has been the biggest scale project that has never seen anything like it before. But why it has such a large scale, we're going to talk about it today. So the format, the structure of our today's meeting is two sections. The first section will be dedicated to the innovations that happened in the world over the last 2 centuries, 200 years, when the technological progress gave a very big impetus to our growth, which we can observe, the results of which we can observe today. And without certain achievements or manifestations of that progress, our life cannot be imagined. Although 200 years ago, it was just things of the science fiction, and only people who were visionaries were able to devise, create those ideas. I see one more continent, Canada, one more country, Andre. So yeah, we have quite a huge geography. Why we have such a huge geography, why we have so many people, and why it attracted the attention of hundreds of thousands of people and followers across the world. I think at the end of this meeting, many people will get the answer to this question, especially if you're here for the first time. And it will not be surprising because we have millions of people yet to become our clients, the clients of our platform, and become investors of the string transportation technology, because there is a lot of big future that lies in this project for many, many dozens of years. And together we will answer the question, how come? Why? So the structure is, we're going to talk first about the innovations, what kind of progress humanity achieved in the last 200 years, and then we will talk specifically about the innovation, which is the topic of our today's discussion, how it is going to change the world, how it has already changed the world, and the way humanity develops in the area of transportation, logistics, nature conservation, and everything that's valuable that the Lord has created, and what is in it for you. So what are the benefits for you joining this project, support the technology, and become its co-owner? So those are the two main points that we're going to look into during our presentation. I have one suggestion or request to you. During my presentation, please do not ask questions in the chat, because questions should be asked during our Thursday's meeting. That's where we're having our Q&A session. We're looking into our topical questions, into the recent news, developments, achievements happened over the last couple of months, even quarters. So some significant milestones are discussed on Thursdays. We have traditional meetings every Thursday at 6 p.m. CET. And today we're going to have a presentation of our activities in the area of crowdfunding. If you don't know what it is, I will tell you about it, and about the presentation of the string transportation itself. And if at the end of the meeting you still have questions related to the topic of today's meeting, I will gladly answer those questions. And we are going to have approximately 40-minute, 60-minute long meeting starting from now. So it's 6:25 p.m. I think at around 7 p.m. Central European time, we will end this meeting. So some of the partners gave me their number and told me to get in touch with them. I will write it down. So let's start. And I think every one of you will agree with the fact that over the last couple of hundreds of years, our world and the life of humanity has drastically changed. And it is reflected in absolutely almost every step, everything we do during our day. It reflects on our life. And even the fact that we are here, although we are thousands of kilometers, miles apart, we still are able to communicate to each other using video and audio connectivity, able to transfer a lot of data in a matter of couple of seconds, which is the result of the technological progress. And now we're using the fruit of that progress. Now, please tell me, take into consideration that over the last couple of hundreds of years, our life has drastically changed. In your opinion, in what areas did those changes happen, and what positive changes happened? So what gave the boost to the scientific and technological progress when the society started developing at an increased pace? So what kind of areas were affected, or what areas were involved? So just share your points of views and what do you think about it? And while we are writing, I will make a small caveat that we're going to have an interactive presentation Q&A. We will revert to interactivity during my presentation, especially when I'm asking you a question. I'm giving you an opportunity to leave your opinion, to share your thoughts. We will discuss those thoughts, and then we will move on to the next point. And I like such interactivity because then it is enjoyable for both of us, able to enjoy the process that we can call a dialogue, an online presentation. And now I have the first comments. So elementary, someone says, you can see it in the internet, social media, being able to communicate online, information technologies. Others are saying, yes, it is something that indeed changed our lives greatly. Alexander said that 30 years ago, we weren't able to even imagine, picture such a progress as we're having today. Indeed, it changed a lot of processes in the world today. Elementary here. In the development of the IT helped us to decently overcome one of the last crises that we had in the world, the huge pandemic that literally took over the entire world. And the IT progress specifically helped a lot of businesses to survive. They were able to move their business online. A lot of people were able to continue doing their work remotely from home. And that was thanks to the progress in the IT, and it helped humanity adapt themselves and make it part of their lives instead of going into deep crisis. On the other hand, such man-caused and natural disasters happening in the world are inevitable, but the scientific and technological progress helps us address those crises and overcome all those obstacles. So now we've covered the communication area of our lives, data transfer. So what else happened in the last couple of hundreds of years? I see a comment in English. It says, transportation industry. The world has become so more united. Andre, I totally agree with you. This is where innovation started in the modern world around 200 years ago. I'm not going to tell you the exact date, I don't remember it, but around 150 to 100 years ago, the first steam train was invented by Mr. Stephenson, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what put the beginning to the railway communication. And that's what gave a new approach to moving people and cargoes from one point to another, made it faster, made it safer. And that's what gave a new approach to moving people and cargoes from one point to another, made it faster, made it safer. And that's what gave a new approach to moving people and cargoes from one point to another, made it faster, made it safer. And that's what gave a new approach to moving people and cargoes from one point to another, made it faster, made it safer. even if we take a look at how it used to be before, it was horse-driven carriages or horses or sometimes buffaloes that people used to plow land, to process land. So humanity used animal power both to move around and to address like agricultural tasks, like land plowing. So they used animals. With the appearance of the railroad, people started moving around way faster, which allowed to connect a lot of cities in between themselves and countries using the railway transportation technology. And as for agriculture, for example, the next niche was taken by cars. So this is another innovation that was implemented and scaled up by Henry Ford. He was the one who made car more accessible to many people. So another interesting fact from the history of the United States is that it is the development of the railroad that allowed the United States to achieve quite a huge progress, both in the economy and in the development of other sectors, such as, for example, oil production. So for you to have a better picture of how the history of the United States went, please watch the movie called Men Who Built America. So I think that's the correct title because I'm reverse translating it from Russian, but I think you will find it easily on Google, the title of the movie. I think it was shot by Discovery Channel or History Channel. It's a very good interpretation, or better, no, it's a very good movie, documentary that shows how innovations changed the United States and turned this country into one of the biggest economical powers in the world. And it is the railroad that allowed to connect all the states in between themselves in parallel. Oil was being produced, which also affected immensely the development of not only this country, but the entire world, because this particular model was then copied and pasted in other countries. Then the railroad appeared in Europe and Asia. For example, huge back then, Russian empire was able to connect its extreme points of its empire with the railroad and set up the logistics and transportation so that people could quite relatively faster get from point A to point B. Europe also connected all of its countries using railroad. And now we can see that this technology, railroad transportation technology, is just being upgraded. Trains became more comfortable, faster, well, compared to the trains we used to have 150 years ago. But there is one paradox. As for the cargo transportation, the speed of the rolling stock, the average speed of the rolling stock, if I'm not mistaken, using data of 2015 or 2016, the speed of cargo transportation by railroad was 16 kilometers per hour. It doesn't mean that the train is moving at that speed. I'm talking about the average speed. So we calculate the entire time and distance from point A when it arrives to the final destination. So if you divide the distance by time, you get around 16 kilometers per hour. So strange as it may sound, the technology is 200 years old, but in terms of mobility, speed, and delivery of cargo, nothing has changed. The speed is yet very low. here's an interesting trivia for you. Another point. So we've touched upon IT, data transfer, transportation. What else? What other spheres, what other walks of our lives have been changed over the last 50 years? A sphere that we deal with every single day. By the way, we can add to the transportation sector air transportation, airplanes. We have the brothers Wright, who built the first airplane, and that's what put the beginning to the entire sector that affects a lot of other sectors like airplane construction, airplane transportation, and now people have been traveling by air for dozens of years, and not just between countries, but between continents. They are able to do transatlantic flights from Europe to the United States, Canada, Latin America, or any point on the planet, which is quite a huge achievement. Grigori says medicine, innovations in medicine are very important, like medical drugs and instruments. Yes, penicillin, for example, which is a huge invention that it was the first antibiotic that allowed to cure very, very serious and sometimes terminal diseases, and still does. So it helped people get treated, go into remission, and stabilize the medical condition, health, which also affects the longevity, the lifespan of the human being. But I'm putting it in quite simple terms. I'm talking about penicillin as a go-to antibiotic. Add here artificial intelligence. They're going to use artificial intelligence to transplant entire human parts, body parts. There was a recent piece of news that I read in medicine when they simply can transplant the entire head from one body to another body. So basically, what you do, you kind of rejuvenate the entire body. You put a old head on a young body. So that's what it's all going to. It seems like and sounds like science fiction, but now using AI, we can make like thousands of manipulations in a split of a second. Because we're talking about connecting hundreds and thousands of vessels, blood vessels, and artificial intelligence is capable to do that. Well, let alone organ transplantation, like kidneys, hearts, etc. Yes, of course, it is a huge achievement, but it's already been done for dozens of years, which helps people even treat very serious chronic diseases and terminal stages. Okay, now Alexander makes a sort of a recap. With the appearance of the internet, mobile phones, digital technologies, crypto, the world has changed. Now what we have to do is figure out what to do with the transportation. I agree with Alexander. In the area of information technologies and digital technologies, the innovations are growing all the time. For example, at first, we just had standard telephone connection. It used to be an innovation. Remember those dial phones, analog phones, where you had to use a disk and then voice was carried over wires and people were able to talk to each other. And then people, thanks to innovation, got their hands on smartphones, and now people can call each other not only using audio but also video. They can use different messengers in an iPhone. It's FaceTime, it can be Telegram, WhatsApp, Viber, and they can use video connectivity to talk to their friends, workmates, and relatives. Innovations are happening all the time and getting better. Medicine. we covered it as well. It's improving all the time. Pharmaceutical companies are coming up every time with new drugs. Sometimes they are harmful, sometimes they save lives, but everything they say is a poison, yet everything is a cure. But if you use everything according to its purpose, then medicine can help extend our lives. The area of finance, next topic. Innovations are happening there all the time as well and allow people to feel more comfortable, more mobile. What I mean is, for example, 50 years ago, people used only like fiat money, cash. They were able to use that cash to make payments. In the Soviet Union, there was a period when they used coupons like food stamps. But usually it happened in the crisis times when there was certain difficult economic situation in the country. So people used fiat cash or something that served the function, the purpose of cash. Then in somewhere in 1970s or 1980s, like 30, 40 years ago, people got their first electronic money using bank cards. We all have them, debit or credit bank card, where people have their money stored electronically, which was facilitated by the IT development. IT developed and then helped the financial sector to get better. It also affected the stock markets. When, by the way, you watch the movie Men Who Built America, there's a very good scene showing the first trades on the stock market. There was like a huge room where people went and literally bought paper stock, paper shares of the company. There was a person who set the price, took orders and executed those orders. All it happened manually. Then with the development of IT technology, all the stock markets can work electronically, digitally, and there is no need for like manual transaction anymore, the way it was like 100, 150 years ago. Next, the next area is transportation, but we'll take a global perspective at it. If we take a look at every single type of transportation, we see that there haven't been any major innovations. And there are quite objective reasons why nothing happened. For example, they invented the train, steam train first, then those steam trains were turned into diesel trains, then it was electrical trains, but essentially, what is a railroad? It's the track, it's the rolling stock going from point A to point B. On the one hand, it's quite a safe type of transportation compared to cars, for example. However, people, when implementing this technology, never thought that a railroad impacts environment quite a lot, the land, the soil. People never could have imagined when they implemented the railroad that when they cut through forests or natural reserves, that they would affect the population of the animals living there, because if animals migrate when the train is moving, they perish, they die. And very often humanity builds fences to protect the railroad. And it kind of interferes with the migration and the population. And once you interfere with one species, then it affects other species, and then it starts spinning. the butterfly effect. One species affect other species, and then it impacts the whole ecosystem. But there haven't been any major innovations in the railroad. Yeah, there were some magnetic suspension trains that developed the speed of 200 and 250 kilometers per hour. But as the experience shows, this technology is not very safe because there were a couple of accidents where such trains had accidents, such had fatalities due to certain reasons. And also the cost of construction of such technology is very high, ridiculously high. I'm talking about magnetic suspension. And then the payback period of such projects are like 50 years to build, to operate, and then to start receiving profits, net profits. So usually such type of transportation, means of transportation, they are subsidized by the government. Yes, they are convenient, sometimes environmental, but they are running at a loss. In other words, since the trains were invented, there haven't been any major innovations. Upgrades, yes. Innovations, no. And the same stands for cars. When they invented the internal combustion engine, the body of the car, four wheels, that's where they stopped. So since it was invented, it's still the same car 200 years ago. Yes, they are modern, they are comfortable, they go at a faster speed, safer. By safer, I mean compared to cars 30, 50 years ago, or like 40 years ago. I don't know when was the first time when Volvo came up with the safety belt and the airbags. It was patented, the technology, but then it was made available to other car manufacturers, which made car travel faster, safer, reduces the risks of injury and death. And then, as I said, airbags came up, and in the last 10, 15 years, we now see sensors built into the car. It's not even 10 years, maybe I'm exaggerating. They came up like 5 years ago. Audi, BMW, and Mercedes now built in sensors that make the car rise if there is an obstacle on the road, thus avoiding injury to the passenger and the driver. So the main impact goes to the bottom of the car. But those are, again, upgrades, modernizations, not innovations, because the cars, since since day one used roads, used wheels, and again, building roads affects the environment, soil, land. You have to cut down forests, and then it's land covered by asphalt. And again, if you calculate the entire land surface covered by asphalt, it is equal to the territory of several countries put together. And I think now the time has come where in the transportation sphere, a breakthrough should have happened. And you must have noticed that some of the companies already declared that they would like to help people move at big speeds, do it either underground or in a vacuum tube that will allow them to develop the speeds of 80, 800, 1,000 kilometers per hour. I'm talking about Hyperloop technology. You must have heard about it. And there were a couple of companies developing it. One of the companies is a company by Richard Branson. It's a British billionaire. Another billionaire involved in it is Elon Musk. And there was another company, I don't remember the name, that tried to implement the Hyperloop technology. And strange as it may sound, all their initiatives began somewhere in 2014, 2015, just when the string transportation technology was started to be implemented. But before we start addressing the problem of transportation and what kind of problems string transportation technology addresses, I would like to make a recap of what we've discussed for the last 20 minutes. If we summarize it all, what I mean here, communication, innovations in the area of information technology, finances, which is easier transfer of money, whereas now from any point of the earth you can transfer money to your friends and relatives in a couple of seconds thanks to electronic or crypto money. The next area, medicine. Now you can diagnose a person very quickly. By the way, we didn't mention it. Now we are in a position to diagnose very complex diseases at an early stage using MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, using other diagnostic tools and tests like ultrasound. Again, mobility, speed, which all affects our lifespan, whether we will continue living, and if yes, whether we're going to live in a healthy body or not. Well, you know what I mean. So if we take those three areas alone, moving around of people, transportation of people, transfer of transfer of information, moving of people and cargo, and quick diagnostics. So all of it testifies to the fact that people are striving for mobility and speed, because the world is developing in such a fast way that a modern person, contemporary person, needs to be able to address their tasks fast. Whereas previously people used like mocha coffee makers, and they took them a lot of time to prepare the whole thing. And now there are espresso coffee machines that can make you coffee in like 30 seconds. Again, it makes things faster, which again emphasizes the fact or testifies to the fact that people are looking for mobility, speed, comfort, and safety. So in the transportation sector, there hasn't been such an innovation for the last 150 years that would address all criteria. Yet, until the year 2014, when I personally learned that in the area of transportation, a new technology is being born, which is able to give people the opportunity to address all those criteria, moving safely from point A to point B, intercity and intra-city. It allows to move any kind of goods around, like loose goods, goods in bulk, liquid goods, movement of containers, etc. And again, do it quickly and safely, which is most important. And economically, it is more profitable than any other type of transportation. It is a technology upon implementation of which you don't harm environment, you don't harm nature or the flora and fauna in this world. And this technology is called string transportation technology by Unitsky. It's called UST, Unitsky string technology. And this technology was designed by the scientist, the inventor, Unitsky, who dedicated his entire life to developing blueprints, doing research, well, more than half of his life. And again, the name of that person is Dr. Anatoly Unitsky. And in 2014, he addressed the global community, saying that he has now answers to all those criteria that I've touched upon, which is only part of the entire big set of criteria. So that technology is capable of addressing a lot of contemporary needs. And Dr. Unitsky had several attempts to implement that technology, to showcase that technology, to promote that technology. But until the year 2014, each of his attempts were met with resistance, with lack of understanding, indignation, and sometimes even persecution, especially on the part of future competition or some state authorities that didn't want and didn't allow that technology to be implemented, because unfortunately or fortunately, there is competition in this world, and not always something new is perceived as something worthy and is not always welcomed. And now let's deviate slightly from that point, and I would like to ask you a question. Please tell me, throughout the entire history of the innovations that we've discussed today, how were people who brought up those innovations were treated? For example, let's take the invention of the first home PC, personal computer. We're not talking about the computers used in production. We're talking about PCs, personal computers. And here we are to thank Steve Jobs and his team and Macintosh. Who knows the history of that company? So what was the reaction of the global community, response to the global community who first heard about it? So what did they say about whether we need a personal computer or not? So it's a small deviation, and you'll understand why I'm asking you this question, what relation it has to Dr. Unitsky. So Grigory says it was skepticism, which was always omnipresent throughout the entire history of humanity. Correct? What other thoughts do you have? What was the attitude towards innovators throughout the history of humanity, towards people who changed the course of history? Friends, let's be more active, because I see only Gregory being active in the chat. Let's remember. Well, meanwhile, let me comment the example that I gave. I gave the example of Apple products. The first Macintosh was presented by Steve Jobs in a university. He got together advanced scientific community. It was in one of the institutes, and he showed that his team and he were able to create a personal computer that every household would have, that would address different tasks. Like there would be a separate display, separate keyboard, etc. There is a movie, again, it's reverse translation, Steve Jobs, The Empire of Seduction, something like that. So all of those stories is a proof that they all go through quite tedious, difficult journey, or like Empire of Temptation. And when the first personal computer was introduced, the first question people asked, why would we need it? Because A computer, in the understanding of the people of 1970s, was something huge, a computing machine that helps in production, in some technological processes. And the first computers were as big as an entire room. It was like big machinery with lots of boards and technical things in it. But just a couple of years have passed, and this technology started to become a thing of every day. And then sales of the computers started increasing, which eventually led to large-scale computerization of the entire life. Banking and the entire financial system switched to computers. Stock markets, as I already mentioned, everything became digitalized, and computers made human lives way better. And now every person does not only have a computer in their household, but also a mini computer in their pocket. A smartphone, it's also a computer. So basically, a contemporary person doesn't even need a desktop computer or even a portable computer, because a smartphone does all the functions of a standalone computer. But at first, people said that they wouldn't need it, and that it was not just a waste of time, but also a waste of money. After they heard the presentation by Steve Jobs, they thought it would be a money-losing project. So let's take one more example. Let's take airplanes. The Wright brothers, when they built the first airplane, which was quite primitive, it was literally made from cardboard and wood. And you know what was the first opinion back then? That an airplane or an object that is heavier than the air wouldn't be able to take off, to levitate. And the Wright brothers proved them wrong. They showed that it was possible for an object heavier than air to fly. And now we're using the results, the benefit of that technology to cross a lot of distance in a short time. I'm saying this to show that Dr. Yunitsky is an innovator that proposed the humanity to address the shortcomings of the modern transportation system. And the technology that he proposed is intended to solve those problems. And he's an innovator. And the reason why I'm saying that he had a very difficult journey is because he met resistance, he met doubts, and people who were able to support him, people who were able to fund him, did not always have good intentions at heart. They didn't want very often this technology to be implemented. And if we go and see how different technologies were implemented, usually it was also always big investments, private investments, like it happened to Apple company or Google company, or like it happened to Facebook, and a number of other companies that I'm sure you know of that changed our world and made it more innovative in all the areas that I talked about. Almost every time it was big time investors, but usually sooner or later, or eventually sooner or later, those investors got a lot of influence over the owners of the companies or the authors of the technology. And if you give you an example of Steve Jobs, if you know the history of Apple, you must remember that despite the fact that he was the founder, the originator of all the ideas and processes happening in the company, he was fired from the company that he created. And Dr. Yunitsky, throughout many dozens of years, was looking for partners and fellow-minded people, like-minded people who could become his strategic investment partners, because any technology before it can be showcased to the world needs huge amounts of money to create a product. In order to create a product, you need to design it, you need to set up an engineering team, builders team, and so on and so forth. then you need to run tests, the setup and commissioning works, then you have to certify it, and which requires a lot of investments. And throughout dozens of years, Dr. Yunitsky received several proposals from investors, but those big players, large investors, especially at that time of the development of the technology, came forth with the following conditions. I'm not going into specifics here, I'm just giving you the general strokes. The idea was that, okay, we are going to fund your technology, but the controlling stock will be ours. And Dr. Yunitsky, being a very wise strategist, never agreed to such terms because he knew the history of Steve Jobs. Because if you give over the management of your technology to people who can take that business from you, is silly. And he never agreed to such conditions. And then the year 2014 came. It was the time when Dr. Yunitsky understood that either he does it now or never. And back then, again, thanks to the information technologies, and the world saw an active burst of an alternative method of funding, which is crowdfunding instead of direct investment. And crowdfunding is a method of raising funds for a startup or other greenfield project by collecting funds from a group of people. So you have an author, the inventor, the engineer with an idea, very good idea, but that engineer doesn't have money to implement the project. And that's where the crowdfunding method came up, where a crowd, people, give money to a person to implement his ideas. And Dr. Yunitsky followed even a more interesting path. And when I say interesting, I mean for the people who will participate in the process. What he did, he evaluated his intellectual property and this intellectual property was evaluated at $400 billion, giving the monetization, the capitalization, future capitalization of the intellectual property of string transportation technology. And by British law, this evaluation was included in the authorized capital of the Global Transport Investments Company. And through that company, the process of funding of the technology started using crowdfunding, but not just crowdfunding, but investment crowdfunding, on the platform of which we are here today. Our platform is called RSW Systems, and it was the first platform through which this process started. And the investment crowdfunding, dear friends, is a very wise, very intelligent model that allows a person to become co-owner of the intellectual property in exchange for his money, his investment into the property, into the technology. It's when the technology isn't there yet, but people start investing into the idea because they believe, they follow the person who came up with the idea. And in exchange for investments, people got pre-IPO shares. Their names were introduced into the registry of pre-IPO shareholders. And back then, a document was published. It's called The Stages of Development and Implementation of String Transportation Technology. It set the course of the development and implementation of the technology for a foreseeable future. And back then, there were 15 stages of development, according to the document. And over the last 10.5 years, the company already made 95% of the journey as far as the creation of the technology of string transportation is concerned, which includes 3 main branches. The first branch is city-urban transportation, which will transport people between cities, or better, it will first transport people inside the city, like a city transportation. Then the passenger urban transportation technology also will provide for intercity and inter-country, interstate transportation. This is first branch. The second branch is cargo transportation, which can be used to transport, as I already mentioned, loose goods, liquid goods, containers, and basically goods of any complexity. Any complexity of cargo transportation sector. And over the last 10 years, or even better, 8 years, because when you look into the history of the development of the technology since 2014, you will understand that the company actually started its activities somewhere in 2015, 2016. That's why we're saying that everything that you can see and hear during our presentation, and I will show you in a video what we've achieved so far, all of it was done in the last 8 years. So friends, those are two areas that the company has already implemented and certified and has in the form of two commercial products, which is city-urban transportation and cargo transportation. How it looks like, I will show it to you in the first video, but in the first video, before we see how they look like, what the string transportation technology looks like, I would like to show you a very short video and introduce you to the creator of the technology, Dr. Unitsky, who, in order to create what he created, to set up the team that he was able to put together in a relatively short period of time, and we're talking about 1,000 employees, each of whom is highly qualified. We're talking about designers, engineers. We have PhDs in technology, in technical sciences. We're talking about a very solid technological, scientific team. And the team itself has the status of a R&D institute, which is quite a big deal. This is the time that we were able to see with our own eyes that all the derisive comments and obstacles have no meaning whatsoever, because what the company has achieved, the status that the company has, is indisputable. And if a person now saying that white is black and black is white, then probably they need to see an eye doctor and check their sight, or whether they are able to perceive colors correctly. Because to say that the string interpretation technology is not real or not realistic or hasn't been implemented is silly and has no foundation. At first, I would like to introduce to you the founder of the string transportation technology, and then I will show you what we were able to achieve using the investment crowdfunding in this quite a short period of time. I will start screen sharing, and each of you will be able to see a video that I was talking about. Just 1 second, please. A small introduction before this video. While I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen, by the way? Please tell me. Can you see my screen? Yes, you say. Okay. So I will go into full screen mode. It says, just 1 second. So for some reason, when I go full screen, my screen sharing disappears for some reason. Okay. Well, let me do this way. Now it should work. So a small intro before I start the video. We have the main website dedicated to all the operations and works created by Dr. Unitsky in the last decades. We're talking about huge achievements, more than 200 inventions that were patented and implemented, because Dr. Unitsky is not only the creator and the author of the string transportation technology, he also has developments in the area of machine building, agriculture, agrarian sector. His technology, his developments cover huge international and planetary project space, which is rocket-free space exploration. Over that time, he wrote more than 20 monographs, and that collection is being supplemented all the time. He has more than 200 monographs and more than 200 scientific works. And his educational backgrounds covers several degrees, majors, and he has more than 40 international diplomas. And another thing that I wanted to add, that Dr. Unitsky, as far as his technology is concerned, not only the string transportation, but other technologies, all of those technologies are patented in every single continent and in many different jurisdictions. So he is quite responsible towards what he's doing. He understands, because he is a good strategist, he understands how important it is to protect your intellectual property, and the fact that we are in part co-owners of the intellectual property in the string transportation technology is of huge importance, because we know that the intellectual property is protected. And now let's take a look at the philosophical view of Dr. Unitsky, of what he does, what he is doing. I will start the video. Let's take a look together, and then we'll continue. My name is Dr. Unitsky. I'm an engineer, creator of invaluable technologies. The key technology is Unitsky's string technology, or UST for short. What I'm doing is not just creating a new means of transportation of overpass type or the elevated infrastructural transportation type. It's, first of all, a philosophy. We're talking about the survival of humanity and saving our cosmical home, the planet Earth. And there is no better home anywhere in the entire universe. Our civilized home is a one big common room that has no partitions. It is populated by billions of species and animals. And all of it is just a part of the entire ecosystem. This is the Earth biosphere, a very thin living film consisting of cosmic gases, dust, and stones. Towards the wholesome life on the planet, uniting every living being, transportation plays a key role. It's a point of growth of advanced technologies. And I believe in the bright future. And I believe that it is achievable. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeve and put all my efforts and all my inspiration in it. To achieve that mission is my journey, the journey of the engineer of the world. So, dear friends, as you could have heard, Dr. Unitsky has a very wise and far-going attitude. He said that he is working as an engineer of the world. And this is a phrase with a very deep meaning. It doesn't just mean that he is an engineer at the international level. He's carrying forward a mission, a philosophy of how his developments, how his engineering inventions are able to save the world. Well, if we are going to be philosophical about it and like to go deeper, then I suggest you bookmark Dr. Unitsky's website, and you can find a lot of useful information about the author himself, Anatoly Unitsky. You can read his publications that go back to 1960s. They're all in here, like a full library of all of his works. You see, I am still scrolling down and the page is still loading up. They are both in Russian and English. So you can read both the technical and engineering documentation information. There is quite a lot of it in here. It's all up to you. Depends on how much time and desire you have. You can go from the year 1966 to 2024. There is a very good guidelines here by topics, albums, brochures, licenses, awards, TV reports, design proposals, expert opinions, scientific works, scientific popular articles written by Dr. Unitsky himself or teamed with his colleagues from different educational institutions, PhDs and professors. On the Dr. Unitsky's website, you can see the achievements, the building of Eco Technopark, USky, the blog that he is running, and USpace blog, which is a geocosmical space program for rocket-free space exploration to save the life on the planet. You can read about it on his website or watch it on his YouTube channel. Dr. Unitsky has his YouTube channel where he answers our questions of the investors, answers technical questions, and everything related to his activities is there. But I urgently recommend you watch the film called, just give me 1 second, please. Following Your Star is the film about Dr. Unitsky, because before you support the technology become, well, we have the ad here because I'm the incognito mode. So what I wanted to say, where was I? Let's skip it. Yes, it's here. In that film, you can see the journey of the innovator accompanied by difficulties that I mentioned, lack of understanding, persecution, and everything, showing how the contemporary world responds to innovations. It's a very deep film that shows a very hard journey for an inventor, that shows that there is a huge time interval between the invention and the implementation that requires strength of spirit, perseverance, doggedness, and this is what this movie is all about. Thanks to the psychological preparation, belief in oneself, we were able to help Anatoly Unitsky to implement what I'm going to show you right now, which is the presentation of the string transportation. So this is the sequence. I would suggest you watch it. First, the movie about Dr. Unitsky, then read all the information about the string transportation technology. But just let me emphasize that it is this particular approach, this core that that person has, helped him implement what we're going to see right now. And right now, I'd like to show you the presentational video of the string transportation technology that was designed, certified, and tested, and now the company is able to sell it in the market. So let's watch it, and then we'll come to the conclusion part of our meeting. Business success depends on how effective are the solutions offered by the company. This formula became the starting point when in 2015, we turned the first page of the Unitsky's string technologies. Its history created optimal transportation, the best of the things possible. We've been working on this for many years, set ourselves only the highest bars, wanted to give customers the perfect tool to achieve their goals. Today, we're ready for any task. The path journeyed by Dr. Unitsky's string technologies incorporated is an experience of difficult victories that have tempered our team today. The company has more than 60 design bureaus and 9-story office building, and more than 1,000 specialists. Our profession is the development, design, and operation of UST complexes. There are schools in the engineering and construction of transport and infrastructure that were formed. The company has a full set of confirmed competencies and is accredited as a scientific organization by the National Academy of Sciences. Constant development, high standards, and the most modern technical equipment. This is the style we adhere to. In order to guarantee the best quality, we strive to monitor our developments from the first sketch to implementation. Our production center is part of a single chain of creativity, design, component manufacturing, final assembly, and testing. 4,000 square meters of workshops, more than 200 professionals, high-precision machines with the numeric control, the ability to quickly reconfigure and optimize production of the most complex elements in the shortest time possible. We independently manufacture motor wheels, bodies, and frames of our U-Pods. Automation and safety systems, energy storage, and electric motor, To achieve the results, we have built several special certification complexes, different types of roads and different models of transportation, 2 types of climatic conditions, about 60 hectares of test and demonstration areas in Belarus and the United Arab Emirates, our own laboratories, energy and infrastructure facilities, service centers, control rooms, automated control systems. At these sites, we carefully test our solutions to ensure their effectiveness, reliability, comfort, and safety. All UST solutions are designed, manufactured, and operated in accordance with the international standards. As proof of this, in 2021, we, for the first time, received a certificate of conformity from TUV Southwest, the world's leading organization in the field of safety and quality. Not stopping there, Unitsky String Technology is constantly improving its products. We know that business success depends on the effectiveness of the proposed solutions, based on the best that came before us. Without trying to imitate anyone who is nearby, we create optimum transport complexes, as best as they can humanly be. So friends, what we've just seen in the form of the presentation is a full result of combined efforts and actions between the author and the creator of the string transportation technology and his team, and the crowdfunding community that supported this technology with their investments. Every single of those investors, and we are investors in the string transportation technology, and who is not yet an investor, I have a very exclusive proposal for you today. We can be proud. We all can be proud of that, because all of it was done for the first time in the human history thanks to crowdfunding. The string transportation technology is the only large-scale project in the world that was funded using this also innovative approach to funding such projects of such magnitude. As you must have noticed, the string transportation technology is a sector-forming technology. And why so? You will understand all the depth of the consequences when you'll see those projects being implemented in a huge number of cities. Why it's going to happen? Because the city urban transportation and cargo transportation have already been certified, and now there are dozens of orders to implement that project, to implement those products in their cities at different stages. The company already starts receiving advance payments and payments for scientific work, R&D stage, the feasibility studies, which is a preparatory stage for any project when they calculate the costs, the design and pre-design research, and then the company comes up with the final budget for each of the stages. A huge team of engineers is toiling on it. As you might have seen, it's a team of 1,000 people, dozens of different design bureaus. We're talking about a huge magnitude here. Using investors' money from crowdfunding, the company was able to build tens of thousands of square meters of production facilities, office buildings, and now the company has a huge office building almost in downtown, in the capital, with the entire technical team, and all of it is owned by the company using the crowdfunding funds, which is quite nonsensical if we take a look at the last 100 years. There isn't such a project anywhere in the world, and when people in the comments are writing, Maxim, you're exaggerating, there are similar projects. Dear friends, I'm going to disappoint you. If you're talking about the IT project, But then, I'm sorry, IT is just a small part of what Dr. Unitsky was able to implement, because the transport and infrastructural string transport and infrastructural complex uses IT technology as well, with their own innovations in the area. If someone in the comments says that there is a company that used crowdfunding to design a motor wheel or something else, again, let me disappoint you, friends. We have our own motor wheel. It has a different name using different technology. Again, it is the proprietary development of Dr. Unitsky's design bureau, and all the transportation units, hubs, all the technical components and technology, all of them have their own innovation aspect in it, and they are all part of the one. And there are no such similar projects anywhere in the world. And if you find some, just share it with me and prove me wrong. But I know for sure that there are no similar projects anywhere out there in the world. And FYI, such huge giants of and opinion leaders such as Richard Branson, Elon Musk, they developed in parallel with us. And the Hyperloop technology that many people praised and were psyched about, this area has never been implemented. The Elon Musk's Hyperloop project was closed, but FYI, the technology that they used for that they wanted to use in the future, Dr. Unitsky back in 1970s, 1980s, in his blueprints, wrote about it, about movement in the vacuum tube, but he decided to reject that idea because it was not safe. Because if the air tightness of the system is compromised, then in the vacuum, human blood will boil immediately. That's why this technology is not safe. And considering huge budgets and the money required to build it, those projects have never been brought to life. Whereas we now, we are at a stage of not just development, we are at the stage of going into the market. So right now, dear friends, it is high time that we should not miss out on the opportunity to become co-owners of the string transportation technology, because the time that is left before fully go into the market, for the technology to fully go into the market, is very, very little. And if you can also watch the recordings of our previous meetings. My previous meeting was dedicated to the payment of dividends, and the company made a declaration of dividends. So let us resume, because we've missed part of the important information. Okay, let me do the recap with the packages finally. So at this moment on our platform, RSW Systems, we have a special promotion that allows every participant of our platform, newly registered user, to become a co-owner of the technology on the most beneficial terms. And those offers are possible because throughout all the stages of funding, there was lack of funding for 10 years. And the company allocated fewer shares than it was supposed to allocate at each stages. That's why the company has accumulated a certain pool of shares that allows to regulate the discount, to have a floating discount. So our current promotion is called summer discount, which allows to become a co-owner of the technology at almost half the price. For example, previously, For the $50,000, a person could get a discount of 40. Right now, using the summer discount, you can use the discount 60 for $1,000, or at an installment plan, $100 per month. We have this option as well. Next, friends. For $2,500 per month, you can get discount 65, or similarly, for $5,000, you can get the discount of 70. Each of those packages can be purchased in installment, either at a $100 per month, or $5,000, or $500 to $250 per month. Or you can make a one-off payment. You can pay in one go and get 10% more. In other words, to your current discount, you will get 10% more. So for the $5,000 package, you will get 77 discount. For 2,500, you will get 65 plus 10%, which is 673, and then you get 66 for $1,000. And all of the clients who, starting from January the 1st, purchased packages in installments but haven't yet paid their installments in full, have the opportunity to terminate their installments ahead of time early, and they will also get 10% plus to their current discount, the discount that they enjoyed in January, April, well, starting from the beginning of this year. Now I'm addressing myself to the clients of the platform who have been our long-standing clients and investors. You have also the opportunity to increase your portfolio by early finishing your installments before the 31st of August, 2024. Therefore, friends, this is the best time to do it. Why? Because in the next few months, our platform is going to go through a final rebranding, and personal back offices will be updated. The website, the design, and the compensation plan will be changed. And by that time, until that time, we're going to have a transition period and we're going to get ready for that transition with the current community. And during that transition period, the platform will no longer offer such beneficial promotions and discounts. The reason I'm saying that is that the promotion where you can get the biggest discount of 77 will not be repeated anymore at all. So I would like you to hear me out, to hear my thought that, friends, do not miss the opportunity to get those wonderful discounts that you are being offered. When we launch the Micron Global platform, or better, when we rebrand the RSW Systems platform into Micron Global, and if you don't know about it yet, you can watch the video on our YouTube channel of December 2023. I gave quite a detailed information in my interview, and also I provided an explanatory video. All the information about the rebranding is there on our YouTube channel. So please go there, subscribe, and you will see everything. But while the transition starting from September is going on, September will be the starting point. I think by the end of autumn, we will finish that process. And in that interval, there will be no such promotions with such discounts anymore. So do not miss out on that opportunity, and share that information, share that presentation with your friends and relatives who are not yet on the same page. And in 2 days' time, at 6 p.m., I'm going to have a meeting with detailed information about our plans for the months of September, what kind of events we're going to have in September, what kind of topics we're going to cover. I'm going to touch upon the latest achievements of the UST company, what was achieved in terms of the technology. And on Thursday, I'm going to tell you about the plans for September regarding to the work on our platform, how it's going to happen. So this is it from me, dear friends. Instead of an hour, as I planned, we have almost a 2-hour long meeting, 1 hour and 40 minutes. But I still think this meeting was productive, interesting. And if so, please write your feedback in the chat. Tell me if this meeting was useful, productive for you. Well, those of you who are our regular clients, probably you solidified some of the knowledge you already knew, but the newcomers, I'm sure, were very pleased to learn something new about this technology. It is a huge opportunity, and now you have the chance to jump in the last car of the train. Thank you very much for your participation, for giving me your time, for your positive comments. Someone says, very informative, everything is cool, perfect as always. Thank you very much, Saeed. As usual, very interesting. I will gladly see you during our next meeting on Thursday. Please come, and there will be a number of news relating to the platform itself and the development of string transportation technology. And let me remind you, we have 4 days left until the end of the promotion. Don't waste that time. Work actively with your audience, with the people you know, and just reactivate your activities. Take a more active stance. Thank you very much. Until we see again, and we'll see each other again in exactly 2 days on Thursday, on the 29th of August at 6 p.m. Central European Time. Have a nice evening, and until we see again, bye-bye.